Well, I bet you thought you were watching The Price is Right or listening to somebody else's podcast. You stumbled into a podcast, by the way. It's Binge-Watchers podcast. Yours truly, Johnny Spoiler. Usually I only spoil the movies that I love. Sometimes I might spoil something that I don't like accidentally if I'm going really hard. Am I frazzled? Yeah, I'm frazzled. Lots of stuff going on behind the scenes. But I'm joined as always by the Savage Scream Queen herself, Jordan Savage. One thing that got distracted by tonight was she was eating a fortune cookie pre-show, and I thought, like, does she know that fortune cookies are made in some suburban town with a little factory in Massachusetts, or that's how it started as a marketing ploy, blah, blah, blah? The thoughts that you might think before you start a show, officially.
I had no idea, but now I know. I mean, I knew that they weren't obviously authentic,
Authentic Chinese, yeah.
But
the fortune cookie recipe didn't immigrate into America, no. Yeah. Or mythology. It's literally, I mean, but that's a good, if it is a marketing device, that's a pretty good one. Everybody wants their fortune.
Oh, it's
the reason I'm on such a fortune cookie tangent really is because she was finishing the fortune cookie before we started the show, but then she said she couldn't read me what her fortune was until she ate the whole cookie. I'm like, oh yeah, so there is a superstition associated with the magic of the fortune cookie.
Isn't that cool? Something that was like manufactured by man now also has its own superstition.
Hey, wait a minute. If I eat more than one, the fortunes will keep changing. And if I read it before I eat it, then it won't come true.
It doesn't come true.
There's no organic way to bring this up. I tried to record this episode earlier and it didn't work out, but I was like, I got to make sure to talk about the fortune cookies because I was thinking about it way too hard. But then Jordan also mentioned there's a fortune cookie episode of Rick and Morty.
It was hilarious.
Except their fortune cookies can like literally disrupt time and space. Folks, if you want a little bit of trivia, when I said that during the original recording, that's when the internet
disruption in time and space.
There was a disruption in time and space. Usually I'm coming to you from a little basement studio, Not that I want to give away to the ninjas hired by my enemies to come get me. That like, well, yeah, you ride an elevator down to a basement level, Sub-Zero level, Station 1 or whatever,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think maybe it's a subtle way for the office complex to say we don't want a podcaster here anymore. The Wi-Fi magically just starts breaking consistently for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It hasn't busted up in like 8 months that I've been recording here, but then all of a sudden it's like, what can go wrong does go wrong. Now I'm getting superstitious about Wi-Fi connections, computers working to record podcasts.
They're trying to push you out.
Hell of a fortune, yeah.
There's a whole
fortune cookie tangent, though. But it ties into tonight's episode, magic and fortunes. It's Fantasy Movie Month, and we got a couple more to crank open. I do want to let you know, we got our Short Kings covered. Tonight's sponsor is Conzuri. They make shoes that will give you 2.8 more inches in your lift, boys. And for a limited time, our listeners can get an extra 15% off with the code BINGE. That was weird. At Conzuri.com. I'm saying Conzuri, and Suri's jumping in. Can you hear that, Jordan? The computer talking to me? No.
Is it yelling at you right now?
It was yelling at me. Sorry, folks.
That makes sense, though. It rhymes.
Go to Conzuri.com and you'll get an extra 15% off your order of these shoes with our code BINGE. So it's like 30% off on the site. You'll get an extra 15% off, 40% off the order. Support our show and check them out. Conzuri.com and use our code BINGE. Nice. Yeah, we'll do a podcast about a movie. It's a fantastic movie. Maybe. Clash of the Titans 2010. Is that right?
Yeah, 2010. Mm-hmm.
Trying to play video. Get things kicked off. Here we go.
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold on ice because it's the Binge-Watchers podcast.
And I hope the office manager knows I'm kidding. I could be kicking a hornet's nest. Who knows? I mean, it'd be a funny way to find out if they listen or not. I was watching some show. Oh, it was the Righteous Gemstones, which is like on its third season. There was one point where the character was like, I only told you that my wife baked cupcakes because I was trying to find the leak or whatever. I didn't tell anybody else that she made cupcakes. Something like that. It may not have been cupcakes, but it was some kind of pastry, right? But he only told her cinnamon rolls or something. I know
You
I'm
try to find the mole. Right.
Yeah, it was
tell
something.
everybody like a different
Yeah. He has like four.
and...
Jesse's character has like 4 or 5 friends in his I almost call them minions, but they're like his posse or whatever. And then like he was trying to find out who the mole was. So he told them all the same story about his wife baking, except for he changed the ingredients on the last guy or whatever. Yeah,
it always works.
Home video headlines. All right, folks, I'll bunker down and give you a show. I apologize. We're getting carried away and sounding like an amateur. All right, home video headlines. Variety is reporting that Barbie has the biggest opening day of 2023. And also, I saw one report right before we started that was like expanding on the Barbie box office, saying that it's like the biggest opening day for a female director or something like that. I don't know. Or the total. It's the total. So, which is funny because Greta Gerwig, like, she emerged as like an indie darling. If you can still say that. I don't know. They said that in the 90s. Wow. There's so many shows about the 90s now. I won't go that too many tangents in one episode. I'll slow down. Greta Gerwig. Yeah. So she's like an indie filmmaker. She's in a lot of independent movies. She's also in something called Greenberg. She's in Hannah Take the Stairs. Her husband's an indie director, Noel Baumbach. They make movies. I don't know if they've worked on each other. They might have worked on each other's movies. I don't want to miss. But anyway, it's cool to see her doing like bigger and bigger movies. And anyway, historic box office. I don't know.
That's cool.
I don't know.
I like her. I mean, just because she's also like a fashion icon too, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm always a big fan of the clothes. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. So I'll be seeing it this week for sure.
A little while ago, I had come up with a character called Booger Man. I think I was making a joke on one of the shows, and I was like, "Oh, we could make an urban legend style horror movie with Booger Man." Can't anymore. There's a body horror movie coming out called Booger, where this girl's life is falling apart as she's trying to put it back together. Something's going on. Like she has like some kind of body morph issues. I don't know if it's related to mucus. The movie hasn't come out yet. Who knows? I do know it involves a dead pet, and like she's trying to either find the pet or replace the pet. I'm not sure. Meanwhile, having like usually body horror means like the person transforms usually into a hideous monster or deformity or something. So, and it's called Booger. So, let your imagination run wild. There you go. But, most movies, there were some movies that got in like right under the wire as the strike started, but like more than half of productions have ground to a halt. Some are half finished. The strike's basically in full swing. They were debating like what one of the arguments is, and it's over artificial intelligence replacing screenwriters, replacing actors, but also having like new actors. Like there's a group of actors called extras, but the thing is, extras are composed of like 80 to 90 to 95% of like would-be actors, right? These are actors that want to act. They want bigger roles. So to think that like, I mean, this could be wild speculation because I hear a lot of the union members, it's like they're talking about it a lot, but it's basically they're saying they're going to scan the actors into the computer, right? So you would become artificial, and then they would just use your likeness for whatever projects, whatever movies, whatever TV shows. And I'm like, oh yeah, like if you're not selling your likeness, like if you're not selling it away yourself, you got to negotiate, right? And I don't want to get into politics. I'm just wanting to bring up the story that they're claiming the studios are going to scan people into the computer. This is kind of stuff I was writing about like as a kid. I was thinking about like, I remember thinking about this like when I was just writing stories for vocabulary lists and stuff like that. Like the idea that like entertainment would all become like robots or movies would happen in your head or something. That's what I thought. I thought virtual reality was like going to get to a point where you could just like add yourself to a movie and have it as like an adventure, right?
Interesting.
Like you want to jump into, like we're going to be talking about Clash of the Titans. So it's like you want to jump into Clash of the Titans, go ahead. Then you're on the quest to fight Medusa or something,
Right.
What else
choose your own adventure, but more like augmented reality. So
I already mentioned the 90s, maybe because I was going to drop this headline. I was going to talk about how Nickelodeon finally got the rights to show the original Ninja Turtles cartoon that was like going on in the 80s or whatever, like the first cartoon.
That's awesome.
80s, 90s maybe. Or maybe it was only made in the 80s, but they showed it throughout all of the 90s. I don't know. The original Ninja Turtles cartoon, folks, is going to stream on Nickelodeon and whatever, all Nickelodeon channels. That'll be pretty cool. Tonight's movie, Clash of the Titans. How do we break this movie down? Perseus goes on a dangerous quest to deal with the forces of Hades before the Earth gets destroyed. I mean, that's the sum of it. I mean, I got a longer version of this, but I was like, nah. I mean, it really is kind of a beef between Hades, Perseus, and whether Zeus feels respected by humans or not. It's basically like Perseus is like, we're not going to be at the wrath of the gods anymore. And the gods are like, don't forget that you love us. That's generally how it breaks down. What are the savage stats?
Yes, and you'll have to make me pause here and there because I know you love your mythology, so I'm sure you've got some thoughts. But
that is completely wrong.
What?
The movie takes a lot of liberties, folks. A lot.
It sure does. Yeah, there's a lot of, I guess, artistical freedom used in this film because even starting off with the word kraken, which is, the sea monster, I think one of the most well-known words for the sea monster, is actually Norwegian and Swedish. It's not Greek. Early scripts of the drafts consider changing it to its Hebrew counterpart, which is Leviathan, which we've talked about a couple movies titled that same thing earlier in this year. And then it was changed back to Kraken as a tribute from the original Clash of the Titans, the 1981 film.
All right. Yeah, it is funny because Kraken is iconic. And
right.
And because of the original movie, because they called it in that too. So it's like, so the title is Clash of the Titans, but it's not an actual Titan because it's a Kraken, which is funny because I think that's because of epic poems, right? Like Scandinavian poems talking about sea monsters. But the idea of a Leviathan, you talk about like the biblical name for a giant sea monster, that's actually kind of scary because they say like a lot of myths start out in reality. So unidentified sea creatures, like a lot of the, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation that a lot of the stories are just talking about like giant squid.
Right.
Or like unidentified whales or sharks of unusual sizes or something.
Could be even just dark shadows in the water, but I mean,
the ocean at night could be anything, right? Could be vampires and little wings that swim. Sirens actually.
There are
like unidentified whale calls. Like yes.
Sirens.
Sirens
would totally
that go
be
at fishers all day.
And sirens are cool too because they're supposed to be beautiful creatures, but maybe they just make beautiful sounds and they're actually really scary looking creatures. So
they lure you to your death.
Yeah, exactly.
Their magical song.
There is a Greek name for it. It's Cetus, but it was never considered as being the name of the, sea monster, which in my opinion makes sense because I just don't know if that strikes a lot of fear in me, but they went with Kraken. So, of course, Release the Kraken, which is an image of Zeus.
In the year 2000, kids, everybody was like, "Release the Kraken! Release the Kraken!" It was everywhere.
It was the thing.
I mean, what's the thing now? Felicia, Cash Me Outside, or
Cash Me Outside. How about that? Yeah.
Yeah, it was as popular as that. Maybe more popular. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Or one that's going around now is the Star Wars one, where I'm like, "You were the chosen one. You were supposed to save us." Or you had one job. Yeah, epic fail. Release the Kraken.
The Kraken is
that thing was everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so we discussed how Clash of the Titans, there's no Titans that actually appear in the story other than a cursory mention in their introduction. The Titans of Greek mythology were parents of Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. The main action involves humans such as Perseus who are trying to appease the wrath of the gods who were descendants of the actual Titans. This one's pretty cool. So I love this one because Sam Worthington's sandals are actually just Nike trainers and they painted toes on them. So
I painted some Nikes so it looked like his feet were in sandals. That's a great detail.
That's so good. He obviously needed to perform a lot of stunts so he couldn't wear sandals. And they didn't have Nike trainers back then. So I had, hate to break it to everybody. You brought up the mechanical owl last week. Was that in private or was that on the pod? I can't quite remember.
No, I said that out loud.
Okay.
I was like, hey, next week, tune in for Clash of the Titans. By the way, they bring back the owl from the original, but it's just a throwaway joke.
It is, because he just briefly is shown, and it was debated at length if they were going to keep it in the movie or not. Sam Worthington had quite a problem with the mechanical owl. He hated the thing. He thought it was going to like totally ruin his career. So it does have like a quick cameo in this film, but that's pretty much it. So, of course, it's shown again in the sequel, which I did find some time for during this week. And yeah, there's a lot. I mean, Medusa, she's got 55 snakes in her hair, which I find impressive. That's so incredible. That's a lot of detail there.
An exact number is funny, yeah, because I remember reading something about the makeup artist or the character designer. Somebody was like, exactly how many snakes are in her hair, and does that matter? 55. Apparently, it does.
Yeah.
Like half the actors from Game of Thrones are in this show.
Oh man, who's my favorite? Liam Cunningham.
Yeah,
love
probably.
That guy. Yeah, he plays Lord
Sir
Davos or Sir Davos. Yeah, in the Game of Thrones.
But even the guy playing the Hound, I think he's one of the soldiers that dies first. One of the Roman soldiers or Greek soldiers that dies first in the movie. But he's also there. How about Ralph Fiennes as Hades is in the movie? Liam Neeson is freaking Zeus.
Yeah, it's stacked.
Nicholas Hoult is one of the dude from Renfield and playing the Beast in the recent X-Men movies. Nicholas Hoult is one of the Greek soldiers from Argos in this movie, but again, he's one of the younger ones, and tragically, he dies fighting Medusa. But this is before his like breakout roles, right? So that's the funny thing is like the quest is stacked with recognizable faces. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they keep popping up everywhere in the film. So thought that was awesome.
We'll be right back for some brief messages, and then we'll be back with freaking favorite bits. Fellas, you ever wish you could get a little bit taller? Maybe you matched on Tinder, but her profile says must be over 6 feet. Maybe her date wants to wear heels, but you can't because then she'll be taller than you. Well, I've got the short kings covered with today's sponsor, Conzuri. Conzuri makes shoes that'll make you up to 2.8 inches tall without anybody knowing. Look, girls get heels, makeup, and push-up bras. Why can't guys get a confidence boost too? We're all the same height lying down, if you know what I mean. For limited time only, our listeners can get an extra 15% off their order with the code BINGE at Conzuri.com. The site is already 30% off. With our code, you're going to get an extra 15%. That's 45% off your entire order. Support our show and check them out at conzuri.com and use the code BINGE. You know what? I was at an audition the other day, and I wonder if I had been a little bit taller, would I have done better? Would I have nailed it? Maybe. Hey, we'll never know. But not only does Conzuri shoes make you up to 2.8 inches taller, but they're also incredibly stylish and comfortable. They're not those old man Velcro shoes. You'd get compliments on your Conzuris even if they didn't make you taller. They have styles for every occasion too. Smart, casual, sporty, you name it. The height and soles are built into the shoes, so nobody can tell that you're getting a secret height boost. The brand is also hidden on the shoes and on the packaging. It's really the ultimate height hack. Life's short, but you don't have to be. It's time to level up the playing field, boys. Maybe update that dating profile up 6 feet? Conzuri is an absolute game changer when it comes to your dating life. On top of 30% off on the site, listeners are going to get that extra exclusive 15% off by using the discount code BINGE at Conzuri.com. Insert that code BINGE. That's a total of 45% off your order. So use BINGE at Conzuri.com. Go to conzuri.com with code BINGE. When I want to get high, I put on a pair of Conzuris. Welcome back to the show with your podcast already in progress. We're talking about Clash of the Titans 2010. Yeah, we've acknowledged the original. It was great. Set a standard for special effects. Enjoy the claymation. Now we're getting into primitive CGI plus practical effects. There was some modeling. It's not all CGI. A lot of fantasy movies, it's only CGI. Thankfully, this one came at a time where it's not totally CGI. But we should probably note that the director abandoned the movie, and some of the cast did too. Was I in that movie? Oh, yeah. Wait, those are rumors. I don't know if they can be confirmed, but they're on the IMDb trivia list. And I thought, like, that's interesting. You have a historic movie, and then you try to distance yourself from it. Maybe because the fantasy is just too fantastical, and the history is, like, very flimsy. Like, inaccurate mythology. It's a movie about mythology. Man. Yeah, I even read that, like, some of the characters in the Greek myths actually were taking place in Ethiopia, but this looks like an island in Greece or something. Mm-hmm. Although, the volcanic stuff was shot in Wales, which is like a country next to England. But they're in other movies.
Yeah.
Street Fighter. There was another movie on that list.
Is that the Willow?
Willow. So at least the locations are also like other classic fantasy movies. Gosh. Oh man. You know, I almost jumped to ratings.
You're like
okay. What is breeze past favorite bits?
I mean, we could talk about the bits. There was kind of a lot for me. I had a lot to say about this one. They're all like action scenes, which makes sense because this is, just purely an action movie. But starting with probably my favorite would be the fight scene with the Medusa. I really
fighting which character? All the characters collectively?
Well,
towards the end, or just specific characters?
I'll start with a specific character.
Okay.
My favorite part of that whole fight scene is when Sheikh Suleiman, he's one of the, what do they call him? The jinns, is captured by Medusa, and he's like wrapped around in her tail. And that's kind of my favorite part of Medusa's. Like she's pictured differently in this film. I feel like maybe
that's the other thing. You stepped into like a side topic. The jinn is like from Arabic mythology, right?
Right, and they are kind of these dead creatures.
We can have crossover mythologies in the same ancient world in this movie. Is another thing we should probably at least acknowledge. However, that's a badass character. I'm talking about like one of the coolest.
So cool.
Like they're made out of wood, but they're powered by blue fire. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
they can like
wood
replace their
the
body
spirit
parts.
of the genie or something. I'm not sure, but
yeah, they replace
badass.
Their body parts as they kind of like die. They like replace them with wood, and they become these like almost tree-like creatures that are obviously partially dead, right? But that's
just
why
like magical spirits possessing trees or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was
shaped like men.
Cool because the Medusa, and I feel like she's not always a snake body. Am I right? Like she's typically made of snake heads.
They're playing fast and loose with like all the rules. Like a djinn is usually a genie in a bottle, right? And in this version, they're in the body of wooden men, made out of, and they have cores of blue fire, which could be the genie spirit. And then you're right, Medusa, the skin tone of the snake skin changes, and how snaky she is. Wow,
you're lying. That.
Okay, if you're listening, you don't see me waving my arms at a motion sensor office light. If you're watching on the YouTube, you saw me frantically shake my arm so the room would turn back on. Apparently, I also have no soul because it doesn't recognize that a living being is sitting here using the conference room. How much movement do you have to do to keep a conference room light on?
You just went to like dark mode, like and also the screen
I was talking about genies and then the lights went out. That's some spooky shit, folks, okay?
You got all the mysterious stuff happening in this episode. The cool thing was that your screen and your computer had lit up the red of your sunglasses, so your eyes were like glowing. So it was,
right after I was talking about evil spirits trapped in lamps.
I thought you just switched on like that. I was like, oh my God.
I think they're neutral. I'm butchering mythology. I think the djinn is not good or bad. It's based on who encounters the spirit and unlocks the wishes. I'm not sure. I think they're neutral. They have their own agenda. I'm not sure if they're good or evil, really.
Right. Well, and Sheikh Suleiman becomes like kind of a part of the team too. So he's like the one djinn that actually like joins the rest of the group to fight the Medusa.
Yeah, but then it gets a little weird. He turns into a bomb. Blows himself up.
That was my favorite part.
Like, what are you doing, man?
Well, and hate to spoil it, like everybody that I loved dies in this scene.
Actually, Chien Sen, is that his name? Chien? There's a doll in Dragon Ball that blows up that can detonate. I think once on purpose, once on accident, or maybe it only got destroyed a couple of times. I don't know. I thought maybe he had like a detonation move. Oh man,
Gotta check it out.
I might be confusing with another Dragon Ball character, but I thought there was one that had like an ability to like detonating was like their last maneuver. Anyway, there was another. I thought for sure you were going to talk about the anime tie-in with the facts, because now I'm thinking about Dragon Ball. You're tying back into like I was reading on the trivia thing that there's references to Knights of the Zodiac, which is Saint Seiya, which is like an anime show where they have magical armor, and the armor for all the gods in this movie was based on the characters in the anime.
Interesting. I remember reading that, but it didn't really stick out in like facts.
Sorry, I'm like stepping over your favorite bits to go back to stats. We already did that.
We already did that. No, I liked it when, Sheikh Suleiman had exploded because it like totally gave Perseus the upper hand in fighting her. But like, I could talk about literally every single creature that's in this movie. I thought that the Stygian witches were cool. I liked the scorpions. That was insane because the scorpions lead to the jinns, which leads to Medusa. Just like when the scorpion fight was going down, that's when like the movie really took off.
Do you like the Kraken?
Yeah, I thought it was cool that it had like a face to it. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't just kind of this squid that had like a lot of teeth. Like it actually looks
like the face of the first Cloverfield monster, which is really funny because the first Cloverfield monster comes out of the ocean, kind of like Godzilla, kind of like this Kraken did. And so the oceanic crustaceans kind of monster, like kaijus, all kind of have like the same face. And you just think like, oh, the technicians or the filmmakers were like obviously examining like depictions of sea creatures, right? Or crustaceans or turtles. And I mean, the Kraken in this looks like a combination of a turtle and a squid and an octopus and maybe sharks. I don't know. I mean, obviously it's got everything. Like
it really
it's also giant. And at first it can't even occupy the space, and then it comes crawling out of the bay, and it's freaking huge. Waving my arms for a second time, folks who are just listening. Let me narrate it for you. As I'm talking about the Kraken, the lights are going out again. My favorite bits. Obviously the action is good. However, I love the throne room introduction of this version of Hades, how he flies in. Some of that's probably the 3D camera pointing or whatever, because when the movie came out, it did come out in 3D. It's like 3D IMAX. If IMAX was around, I don't know what they called the large format back then. Dolby Digital, IMAX. Pay us more money. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was called. But anyway, so like he flies in. He's like a mystical smoke cloud. He's a storm cloud or whatever, burning fire in the sky. And I always thought the throne room encounter where he's pointing out the hypocrisy of the royal family or whatever as they challenge the gods. And, I mean, it's clear Hades recognizes that Perseus is Zeus' son and he's been messing with him his whole life. I also like the witches, the Stygian witches. That's the correct name for the witches, I think. And there's 3 sisters. You know what, though? There's the Norn Fates. And I think those are witches, too. So, again, who knows? I have to read Greek mythology because I don't remember about the witches, but I think like in all the stories they all share an eye, right?
Yes, yeah.
And they can see the future or something. And
they were super spooky in this one. Also played by men. Hate to throw in that fact, but they were played by men in this movie. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, acrobats or green screen actors, who knows? Even though I already talked about, there's a rumor the director turned on the movie. It did say he also did green screen acting for the Kraken. This is a funny episode. I'm also sitting by a window, so I thought like the sound from outside would just be disruptive, unlike the studio. I can't believe the conference room lights have turned off 3 times. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Now I'm like trying to rush the end. Like, how many times is it going to go off before we're done? It's a weird night, Jordan. This show is all on your shoulders because
let me carry you.
What can go wrong is going wrong.
Oh, backpack, yeah.
Yeah. What favorite bit? Oh, I mentioned everything that I think I needed to mention. Ratings: binge now, binge later, binge never. Gotta watch it now. Get to it eventually, or you can't get 2 hours of your life back. Jordan, where do you land?
It was a binge now for me. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was entertaining. It was entertaining the whole time. I mean, obviously the main actor is sweet on the eye, Sam Worthington. I was trying to figure out where I recognized him from the whole time. Avatar.
Oh yeah, he's Jake in Avatar, whatever.
Yeah, but I
Jake
couldn't.
Sully or whatever.
It was on the tip of my tongue the whole
he's
time.
He's also in. What's funny? James Cameron makes the Avatars. He made the original Terminator 1 and 2. He actually, this guy you're talking about, Sam Worthington. He's also in like Terminator. That's 6. Which one is he in? Let me count back the sequels. Let's see what happens in Terminator 3. Is he in Terminator 4? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, he's in Terminator 4, which is not really. I mean, it's not really number 4. I mean, it's the 4th movie, but it's not really number 4. You know,
Terminator Salvation.
Yeah, Terminator Salvation, which is the 4th Terminator movie, and it's supposed to talk about the life of John Connor, who is the rebel leader that leads the humans against the machines in the original Terminator, and we also see him as a kid in Terminator 2. When the Terminator gets reprogrammed to be a good guy in part 2, forget that holiday box office. I don't even know if it came out during the holidays. I think it came out on July 4th. I don't know.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. What about you? What'd you rate it?
Okay. I mean, I have a soft spot for fantasy and science fiction movies, even though you really have to believe in a lot of BS. And I feel like if I admit that I like this movie a lot, people are going to be really mad because I like it more. Like the old one just seems like, it's a hallmark, like I said, for special effects and also animation, like claymation, and Ray Harryhausen, I think is his name, and he is like an icon. And Clash of the Titans is one of the icons, you know what I mean, in the lexicon of those movies. And it's weird that the filmmakers and actors have distanced themselves from Clash of the Titans 2010 because I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Not one bit. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoyed it the first time, the 5th time. I enjoyed watching it again, trying to pay attention to all the things that I never paid attention to before. Right. And realized, like, the Medusa fight was, like, even more complicated than I thought. And I love Medusa as a character, but she's, like, a tragic character. I remember we had talked about a while ago, there was a horror movie coming out from her perspective, which I thought was cool. Because essentially she's like cursed,
right?
Victimized, but then she becomes this horrific monster in like this movie or whatever. Yeah, so it's wavering. I mean, it's somewhere between a binge now and a binge later. But look, you can't. I mean,
okay, you have to say it. When I count down to 3, you just have to pick one. Don't think about it. Just pick one. 3, 2, 1. Say it.
All right. Look, my judgment is clouded because I'm going through some stuff right now, and I hope the episodes are super entertaining. But this is like there's a dark storm cloud of Hades floating over my head, and I'm looking for my genie in a bottle. Just kidding. If there weren't so many technical problems or like distractions, then I'd just be like, binge now, baby. But I'm like, I'm in a bad mood. I'm like, binge later.
So binge later.
Isn't it interesting that the ratings might be determined by what mood we're in? Is that possible? No.
I think it totally is. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like my
is it that changes. Much on a whimsy? Because that would be like that'd be like I don't think it'd be a good source of information or criticism if it was all based on.
Okay, I take it back.
Well, actually, to be fair, all criticism is based on subjectivity, right? It's based on the opinion of the observer, right? Not because how could you have an unbiased, unfiltered, non-prejudiced opinion of anything? Because you are filtering it through your experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'm just BSing my way out of it.
Just, you know what? Just follow your heart. Yeah. Oh, man.
Binge now. I love the Kraken. I don't care if it's mythologically correct.
That's right.
Release it.
You heard it. Release the Kraken.
Except on a subway. You don't want to get arrested.
Okay, don't release the Kraken there.
That's a different animal. But the meme got dirty towards the end. I think that's why people stopped using it, because it turned into a dirty joke there at the end.
Oh, that makes sense.
And if you do release it on a subway, it better not be false advertising, because you said the Kraken. Don't disappoint everybody on the subway. You're still going to jail, because that's called like lewd conduct or something.
Don't do that.
I did not think the jokes were going to get X-rated tonight. I'm just stumbling through the darkness right now.
Literally.
Yeah. Jake wants to know why not The Hobbit? Why won't we ever review The Hobbit? We won't review The Hobbit because we don't have enough time. We don't ever have enough time to talk about it. They took one book, they turned it into 3 movies to sell tickets. It should only be one movie. You have to watch them go down a stream inside of barrels after they escape from an elven city and they're getting chased by orcs, which I don't know if it happens in the book. There's a lot of extra scenes that didn't happen in the book that were added. And it's 90 minutes of story told over like 600 minutes or 900 minutes or however long the 3 movies are combined, which is not cool. It could be a really tight 90-minute movie. Right. I don't need them to sing about washing dishes after eating dinner with the Hobbit. Dwarves. 13 of them singing. Or 12, however many dwarves there are in this movie. It's like 12 or 13 singing for like an hour in the first movie. That's enough. I mean, there was like 30 minutes of story in the first movie, and the rest was lollygagging.
Fluff.
Nancy footing. Yeah. Absolute fluff, and we're not talking about the sandwich.
Yeah, not the marshmallow puff kind, so.
Because that'd be delicious.
That would be so good.
Now I'm thinking about The Hobbit.
Yeah, but it would be a lot of movie to fit into 1 week. So.
Yeah, well, it'd be, it's not going to happen, man. What else did I have to say? Oh, I wrote down to talk about this one actor from the movie before we move on to staff picks. He played Perseus' dad. He's a good character actor. He's in Dragonheart. He's in a bunch of other movies. Pete Post-Lathwaite is a character actor. I wrote down how to phonetically say his last name, if you're wondering. Plays Perseus' dad. You would forget it. If he wasn't playing him, you wouldn't care about Perseus' stepdad. He's the human dad. He's a fisherman. He's ill-fated. Spoiler alert. Perseus loses everybody but Zeus. He loses his mom. She's the queen. She dies right after his birth. Then he loses his fishing family. And actually, I think if it wasn't such a good actor playing the dad, you may not have cared about the fishing step family drowning. Like, the actor's really good.
What's that?
In what some of the actors are like throwaway movie. I don't know. He's in a lot of movies. Look him up. He's one of those types of dudes. Staff picks. If you watch something else that isn't the movie of the week, what is it? And would you recommend it?
I watched so many movies this weekend. Some oldies but goodies. Hate to say it, I jumped on the bandwagon with watching Titanic again. I watched The Ring again. That was great because Pat, my boyfriend, had never seen it before, so he watched The Ring for the first time, and I think that is it's a good, scary movie.
Have you guys watched like the Japanese Grudge and the Japanese Ring? It's called Ringu.
Right. No, I haven't, but I would definitely put it on the list.
They're like maybe 15 to 20% more creepy. Like they're a little more extreme.
We're going to watch it.
There's a lot of them though. Because at one point they have the Grudge and the Ring like joining forces as super ghosts.
Does not surprise me. That would be so scary. Yeah. Speaking of ghosts, we didn't even talk about our BuzzFeed quiz.
Good way to sneak it in. Okay. We did a BuzzFeed quiz just for the hell of it because it's related to fantasy movies to see if we were characters in a fantasy world, who would we be? I don't know. Like I clicked a question about, I know what my questions are, but I don't know what questions Jordan clicked because Jordan ended up being a ghost, which I didn't think that was going to be a choice. I thought like princess, knight, king, queen, dragon, maybe.
Mage. I don't know.
She gets ghost as her fantasy world character. What were the questions? Like, do you feel like a disembodied spirit? I mean, like, what were the...
I know. No, it was like all just picking pictures. And I'm thinking I'm like taking pictures of beaches and stuff. And then I get ghost. I'm
like with mist floating over the lake. Yeah. Oh, she's a ghost.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, what would you want your like, what would you, like if you could get any sort of like skill, what would it be? And I picked magic. And I get a ghost.
You think you'd be a wizard or something?
Yeah.
Sorceress.
Nope.
I think because I clicked sword and I clicked a lake and I'm like, okay, like I did end up with knight. And then I asked the machine to produce a chubby knight with a microphone, and he gave me this little night DJ guy. I don't know, but anyway,
I like him.
Pretty funny anime style, almost sultan. He looks like it could be a sultan with a palace or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got knight on the quiz. I don't know if it's because I'm on a quest, because I like swords. Who knows? Well, I don't know. I don't know how the quizzes work. I think like some of the answers probably overwrite some of the other answers.
I guess.
And it reverts to your original choice. Because like if the first question is sword, then the next question is like, do you like the lake or do you like to eat pitas? You know what I mean? Like reverts the answers back and forth or whatever. Or like, do you like mutton? And you're thinking like, oh, mutton's like roast beef or something. Okay, I'll click mutton. Mutton's not roast beef, but you know it's meat or whatever.
Ghost. You get
lamb,
ghost.
Right? Is it lamb? Is it a lamb chop?
I think mutton is lamb, isn't it?
It might, whatever. It's a meat product. It's the Middle Ages, so they're thinking like Renaissance fair. He's a knight or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out. Like, I really think the way you toggle the quizzes is how you get to the answers. Like, would you get the same answer a second time? Who knows? Or could you? At some point, I think you could figure out which way to steer the answers to produce which character. You'd have to determine how many characters there are.
Yeah. I didn't know Ghost was an option. How would I like be able to consciously pick my answers?
When you texted me Ghost, I thought like, why was that even a selection? You know what I mean?
Did she take the wrong
When you think about it, you go wizard, cleric, maybe thief, maybe bar patron, but like king, queen, like. You definitely don't think ghost.
No.
Like, dude.
It's like that's so random, but oh well. I saw Oppenheimer 2 in theaters, so it was.
Whoa, I thought you were gonna watch Barbie.
Sorry, I watched it in IMAX. It was incredible.
But people have been talking about memeing. The new meme is to smash those two movies together on movie posters. It's like Barbieheimer.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's going around. And if you don't live through the culture, then you're like, it means nothing.
Right.
That's probably true. Memes are nothing unless the people put belief into them.
Yes.
Like Frosty the Snowman or something.
Yeah. Did you watch anything?
No, man. Like I'm just trying to figure out how to get the office internet to work.
I watched enough movies for the both of us, so we're good.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm not trying to be in a bad mood, but it's like I just can't. I'm like trying to reliably or make things. I don't know. Murphy's Law, what can go wrong goes wrong. I don't know if that's actually science or people just want to believe that it is. No, I just watched. I have not. This has been a crazy summer of like responsibilities. I don't know. I feel like I have no time to watch anything, and if I'm watching something, it's not what I've been assigned, and I'm the one choosing the movies. Like I'm watching a rerun of The Office so I can get through a Tuesday or something. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Let's see what's going on. Oh, our quest will come to a conclusion. We're doing one more fantasy movie with I don't know. I almost called him our buddy, but I don't know. Pathfinder with Carl Urban, but we loved him in freaking, what is that movie? The Judge Dredd remake, and also he's in Boys on Amazon. The lights went out again, folks. I guess that means it's time to wrap it up. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. The bar's closing. Pathfinder. So basically, I didn't realize there were like 4 different movies with the name Pathfinder. However, this is Pathfinder from 2007. Like historians, history teachers, horror buffs, scholars, and YouTubers have been debating whether or not the Vikings have visited North America and whether or not they discovered Vineland, which might be a part of Canada. But, however, this movie says, yeah, that kind of happened. Carl Urban plays a Viking raised by indigenous Americans and then defends them when the Vikings come back and invade. That's probably all I should say. Not spoil it for Jordan or the audience.
Yes.
Maybe I shouldn't have eaten that fortune cookie that said the internet's going to break.
Yeah, that was my fault, wasn't it? You know what? It was because you asked me to read my fortune.
Well, I'm superstitious like a baseball player or a baseball fan. Yeah. Yeah.
You will soon receive good news of a personal nature.
Let's hope so.
In the podcast. Yeah. We made it.
That's your fortune. What was my last fortune? You ever get those fortunes that aren't a fortune? It's just like, your favorite color is blue.
Yeah, no, like, that's not a fortune.
You're a good friend.
That's the one that makes me so mad. I'm like, you can't tell me something about me. You don't know my life. Oh, man. You should be able to get fortune cookie redos, like, to be completely honest.
Well, I mean, we've already talked about how they nullify each other, right? So if you have 3 fortune cookies, it's the last one you eat, right?
Guess, yeah.
Or is it 2 negatives equal a positive? 2 fortune cookies equal 1 fortune? I don't know. Science!
Yep. Check it out.
Fortune cookies are science.
It really is.